In the unforgiving expanse of New Mexico's high desert, fate weaves an unexpected tale of redemption. Eli Hart, a reclusive cowboy carrying the weight of his family's tragic loss, discovers a brutally beaten pregnant woman on a forgotten stretch of highway. Maya, desperate and alone, fled from a monster who wore the mask of love, protecting not just her own life, but the innocent one growing within her. With nothing but his modest ranch and a heart scarred by his own past, Eli makes a choice that will change both their lives forever. As winter settles over the desert, these two broken souls begin to heal each other, finding purpose in their shared solitude. But how long can peace last when violence casts a lengthening shadow over their newfound sanctuary? Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Dawn painted the New Mexico desert in shades of amber and rose, but Eli Hart barely noticed the beauty anymore. His boots crunched against frost-covered gravel as he made his daily pilgrimage to the wooden cross marking mile marker 54, Sarah and Tommy's cross. 3 years hadn't dulled the pain, just changed its shape. He placed fresh winter sage at the base of the cross, his calloused fingers brushing away dead leaves. The morning ritual complete, Eli turned back toward his truck, squinting against the harsh morning light. That's when he saw it, a glint of metal in the drainage ditch, something that hadn't been there yesterday. Eli approached cautiously, years of ranching having taught him that desert surprises were rarely pleasant. The glint came from a shattered cell phone, its screen spiderwebbed but still catching the sun. Beyond it lay something that stopped his heart cold, a woman's hand, pale and motionless, partially hidden by dry brush. "Ma'am?" His voice sounded foreign in the empty morning air. No response. Moving closer, he saw her fully, crumpled on her side, dark hair matted with blood, face swollen almost beyond recognition. But what made his breath catch was the obvious swell of her belly beneath her torn dress. Eli dropped to his knees beside her, fingers searching for a pulse, while his other hand already had his phone out. No signal. Of course there wasn't. This stretch of highway was a dead zone, one of the reasons that night 3 years ago had turned tragic. The woman's skin was cool but not cold. A faint pulse fluttered beneath his fingers like a trapped bird. She was alive, barely. Up close, the brutality of her injuries became clear. Systematic battery, not random violence. Someone had meant to kill her, and nearly succeeded. Eli shrugged off his jacket, wrapping it around her as gently as he could. "Hang on, ma'am. Just hang on." His ranch was closer than the hospital in Socorro, and with her injuries those minutes might matter. As he lifted her, she weighed almost nothing in his arms, making the precious weight she carried even more apparent. The drive back to the ranch was a blur of desperate calculations. Sarah had been a nurse. Her medical supplies were still in the hall closet, untouched since the accident. He'd learned enough from her over the years, helped her with emergency cases when the winter storms kept people from reaching town. The woman stirred once during the drive, a soft moan escaping her, split lips. Her eyes fluttered but didn't open. "Safe," Eli found himself saying, though he knew she probably couldn't hear. "You're safe now." Pulling up to the ranch house, memories ambushed him. Sarah directing him during emergencies, her calm voice guiding. His hands, "Pressure here, Eli, steady now, that's it." He could almost hear her as he carried the woman inside, laying her on the guest bed they'd never had a chance to use. Working quickly, Eli gathered Sarah's medical supplies. The familiar red bag still smelled faintly of antiseptic and Sarah's lavender hand cream. Inside, everything remained organized just as she'd left it. Gauze, bandages, surgical tape, antiseptic wipes, emergency medications. "Talk me through this, Sarah," he whispered, beginning to clean the woman's wounds. The methodical work kept his hands steady, but his mind raced. Who had done this to her? Would they come looking? And what would he do if they did? The sun was high when he finished, the woman's injuries cleaned and bandaged, an IV drip of fluids running into her arm. Sarah had insisted he learn how to place them during one particularly brutal winter. Her breathing had steadied, but she remained unconscious. Eli sank into the chair beside the bed, exhaustion settling over him like a heavy blanket. The woman's broken cell phone sat on the bedside table, its screen dark and lifeless. A modern day message in a bottle, perhaps holding answers he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Outside, the wind picked up, whistling through the fence posts. A sound Sarah used to say reminded her of lonely ghosts. Today, it sounded like a warning. Eli checked the woman's pulse again, stronger now but still thready. In the growing light, he could see her face was young, probably early 30s, with features that might have been lovely before violence reshaped them. "What happened to you?" he asked quietly, knowing the answer would bring complications he'd spent 3 years trying to avoid. The weight of responsibility settled over him, familiar and unwelcome. He'd chosen isolation after losing his family, believing it safer, simpler, but fate, it seemed, had other plans. Standing at the window, Eli watched dust devils dance across his empty pasture. The morning's simple ritual at the highway cross felt like it had happened in another lifetime. He'd gone there seeking peace with his past, and instead, the past had handed him a future he never expected, one that breathed softly behind him, carrying 2 lives in desperate need of sanctuary. Sarah's medical kit lay open on the dresser, its contents telling the story of the last few hours. Empty gauze wrappers, used suture packets, blood-stained cotton swabs. Idley had forgotten how much medical supplies could look like evidence of a crime scene. The woman's breathing had steadied over the past hour, but her face remained a topography of violence, purple mountains of bruising rising from valleys of swollen flesh. Her left eye was completely shut, the right barely better. 3 fingers on her right hand were broken. Defensive wounds, Sarah would have called them. Eli changed the IV bag, his movements mechanical from years of watching Sarah work. The pregnancy complicated everything. He'd helped birth countless calves, but this was different. The woman needed a hospital, a real doctor, but the nearest one was 2 hours away, and the storm front moving in promised to make the roads impassable by nightfall. A soft whimper drew his attention. The woman's good eye fluttered open, unfocused at first, then widening with panic. She tried to sit up, one hand instinctively going to her belly. "Easy now." Eli kept his voice low, gentle, the same tone he used with spooked horses. "You're safe here. No one's going to hurt you." She stared at him, her one open eye darting around the room, cataloguing exits. The IV line caught her attention, and her hand moved to pull it out. "That's helping you," Eli said, not moving closer. "You were severely dehydrated. My wife was a nurse, taught me enough to help in emergencies." He gestured to Sarah's medical kit. "You've got some broken fingers, bruised ribs, and a lot of soft tissue damage. The baby's heartbeat is strong, though." I checked with Sarah's fetal monitor. The mention of the baby stilled her. Her good hand moved protectively over her stomach again, but this time in a gentle caress. When she spoke, her voice was raw, barely a whisper. How long?" "Found you about 6 hours ago, near mile marker 54. She closed her eye, tears sliding down her cheek. I thought he'd killed us." The word "us" hung in the air like smoke. Eli filled a glass with water, added a straw. "Small sips," he said, holding it where she could reach. "Can you tell me your name?" She hesitated, weighing truth against safety. "Maya," she finally said. "I'm Eli Hart. This is my ranch." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "Whoever did this, they won't find you here. Place is pretty isolated. Storm's coming in too. Roads'll be closed by nightfall." Maya took another sip of water, wincing as it passed her split lip. "You should have left me there. That's not who I am. You don't know what you're getting into." "No," Eli agreed, "I don't. But I know what I saw at that highway cross, and I know what would have happened if I'd driven past." He checked her IV line again. "Rest now. We can talk more when you're stronger." Maya's eye was already drooping, the pain medication in her IV doing its work. "Why?" she managed to ask as sleep pulled at her. "Why help me?" Eli thought of another highway cross, of chances lost and found. Because 3 years ago, someone drove past when my family needed help. Some debts you pay forward. She was asleep. Before he finished speaking, outside the wind had picked up, carrying the first flakes of snow. Eli moved to the window, watching the weather roll in across the desert. The storm would buy them time, but storms pass. And when this one did, decisions would need to be made. His phone showed no messages, no missed calls. The local sheriff, Jim Torres, usually checked on him during big storms, but the highway crossing had been their meeting spot. Eli would have to avoid it now, let Jim assume he was just holed up waiting out the weather. In the bed, Maya stirred restlessly, caught in some dream. Her broken fingers twitched and her face tensed with remembered pain. Eli adjusted her blanket, careful not to wake her. The gesture felt foreign. It had been so long since he'd cared for anyone. He gathered the medical waste, bagging it carefully. The evidence of violence would need to be burned, erased like tracks in sand. Sarah would have understood the necessity, even as she worried about the consequences. She'd always said Eli's protective instincts would get him into trouble someday. Looking at Maya's battered face, at the gentle swell of new life beneath the blanket, Eli knew trouble was already here. It had arrived with the sunrise, wearing bruises and carrying hope in its belly. And like the storm rolling in outside, there would be no turning it back now. He settled into the chair by her bed, prepared for a long vigil. "Well, Sarah," he whispered, "to the quiet room. Looks like your medical kit's getting some use after all. Hope you don't mind me playing nurse." The wind whispered back, carrying snow and secrets across the desert night. 3 days passed in a blur of snow and silence. Maya drifted in and out of consciousness, her periods of lucidity growing longer each time. During one clear moment, she pulled a worn sonogram picture from her dress pocket, holding it like a talisman before exhaustion claimed her again. Eli kept watch, changing bandages, monitoring vital signs, and stepping out only to tend to essential ranch work. The storm had dropped 2 feet of snow, unusual for this part of New Mexico. The desert looked alien under its white blanket, all familiar landmarks erased. On the morning of the 4th day, Eli was dozing in his chair when Maya's voice, stronger now, startled him awake. "Your wife," she said, gesturing to the medical supplies. With her good hand, "Where is she?" Eli straightened, working out the kinks in his neck. "Sarah passed away 3 years ago. Car accident on the highway. Her and our son, Tommy." Maya's face softened with understanding. "The cross. Where you found me." "Yeah." Eli stood, pouring fresh water. "How's the pain today?" "Bearable." Maya shifted carefully, one hand resting on her belly. "She's moving more." "She?" A ghost of a smile touched Maya's lips. Mother's intuition. 7 months along now. Her face clouded. "At least, I think it's 7 months. The days, they got confused near the end." Eli nodded, not pushing. "There's soup warming on the stove. Think you could manage some?" "I'd like to try." Maya looked down at her hospital gown, one of Sarah's old ones. "And maybe real clothes. Sarah's things are in the closet. Never could bring myself to..." He cleared his throat. "Anyway, they're yours if you want them. Be right back with that soup." In the kitchen, Eli stirred the pot of chicken soup, his mother's recipe. The routine tasks of the past few days had kept him focused, purposeful. But now, with Maya fully conscious, questions hung in the air like storm clouds. When he returned, Maya had managed to sit up straighter, though the effort had left her pale. She took the soup bowl carefully, her splinted fingers making the task. "Awkward. 7 months, Eli said quietly, sitting back in his chair. "That means you'll need prenatal care soon. Proper medical attention." Maya's hand tightened on the spoon. "I can't go to a hospital. He'll find me." "The baby's father. My husband." The word came out like poison. "He's a cop. Has friends in every hospital within 300 miles. That's why I ran, why I kept running. But he caught up with me on that highway." She set the soup down, appetite gone. I really thought that was the end." Eli watched her face, seeing not just the physical bruises, but the deeper wounds beneath. He won't find you here. You don't know him, his reach, his connections. I know this land. Eli interrupted gently. Know its hiding places, its secrets. Nearest neighbors 15 miles out, and they mind their own business. Sheriff only comes by every few weeks, and he radios first. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. You can stay, Maya, long as you need. Get strong again. Figure out your next move. Maya's good eye filled with tears. Why would you risk this? Risk everything for strangers. Eli stood, moving to the window. The snow had stopped, leaving the world impossibly white and quiet. When Sarah and Tommy died, it was a night like this. Black ice on the highway. Car went off the road. They were alive for hours, trapped in the wreck. 3 cars passed by. 3 cars saw their emergency lights and kept going. He turned back to Maya. By the time someone finally called it in, it was too late. After that, I couldn't. He gestured to the empty ranch. Couldn't face people anymore. Figured isolation was safer, simpler. A tired smile crossed his face. Maybe this is God's way of telling me I was wrong. Maya touched the sonogram picture on her bedside table. I don't believe in God anymore. Not after... She trailed off, then met his eyes. But I believe in good people. Just didn't think there were any left. Get some rest, Eli said, uncomfortable, with the gratitude in her voice. Tomorrow, if you're up to it, we'll see about getting you some clothes that fit. Sarah, he swallowed hard. Sarah would have wanted them used. As he turned to leave, Maya's voice stopped him. Eli, thank you, not just for saving us, but for seeing us. Really seeing us. Eli nodded, not trusting his voice. Outside his window, the desert sun had begun to melt the snow, revealing the familiar landscape beneath. Change, he thought, watching the transformation. Sometimes it came with storms, and sometimes with the quiet awakening that followed. Maya discovered the family photo a week after her awakening. It sat on the mantel, partially hidden behind a dusty bronze horseshoe. Eli, younger and smiling, with his arm around an auburn-haired woman who radiated warmth. Between them, a boy of about 8, with his father's eyes and his mother's gentle smile. They stood before the ranch house, its paint fresher then, life still running strong through its veins. She was wearing Sarah's old maternity dress, soft, blue cotton, that somehow still smelled faintly of lavender when Eli found her studying the photograph. He'd been teaching her to navigate the house with her healing injuries, each day bringing new strength to her legs. Tommy had just won his first rodeo ribbon, Eli said quietly, making her start. Junior barrel racing. Sarah was so scared he'd fall, but that boy, he cleared his throat, that boy never knew fear. Maya carefully picked up the frame with her good hand. She was beautiful, Sarah, inside and out. Eli moved to stand beside her. County nurse. Worked twice as hard as any doctor I knew. Used to say every ranch wife needed medical training. Way out here, where help's so far away. He gestured to Maya's splintered fingers. She'd have done a better job with those. You did just fine. Maya set the photo down gently. The house, it feels like her. Like she's woven into every room. Eli nodded, moving to the kitchen where coffee percolated on the old stove. Took me 2 years to sleep in our bed again. Kept expecting to smell her shampoo on the pillow, hear Tommy's footsteps in the hall. He poured 2 cups, handed her one. Still do sometimes. Maya cradled the warm mug, remembering how to hold things without her broken fingers. How do you do it? Stay here with all these memories? Where else would I go? Eli's voice was matter of fact. They're everywhere here, yeah. But that's not always bad. Ranch needs working. Animals need feeding. Life goes on, even when you think it can't. Outside, winter sun gilded the desert. Maya moved to the window, seeing the ranch through new eyes. The barns weathered red paint. Horses in the corrals, steam rising from their backs. Cattle dotting the distant pastures like dark. Punctuation marks on the white page of snow. Would you like to see it? Eli asked. "The ranch, I mean. You've been cooped up inside for days." Maya hesitated, one hand going to her face where the bruises had faded to yellowish shadows. "I don't know if I can—" "Just to the porch," Eli said quickly. "Get some air, doctor's orders." A smile tugged at her lips. "You're not a doctor." "No, but I'm all you've got at the moment." He held out his arm, steady support if she needed it. "Come on, sun's good for healing." The porch steps were a challenge, but Maya managed them with Eli's help. The desert air hit her like a tonic, crisp, clean, carrying the scent of sage and snow-dampened earth. She sank into Sarah's old rocking chair, letting the sun warm her face. "It's so quiet," she whispered. "That's the desert." Eli leaned against the railing. "Some folks can't stand it. Say it makes them hear their own thoughts too loud. But Sarah—" He smiled at some memory. "Sarah said it was God holding his breath, making space for miracles." Maya watched a red-tailed hawk circle overhead, riding thermal currents. "I never knew places like this existed, so far from everything, everyone." Her hand drifted to her belly, feeling the baby's morning movements. "He won't think to look here, not at first." "No," Eli agreed, "but you can't hide. Forever. I don't need forever." Maya's voice strengthened. "Just long enough to have her. Get somewhere safe, start over." Eli studied her face, seeing the determination beneath the fading bruises. "You've got time to figure it out. Winter's setting in proper now. Roads'll be bad till spring." A comfortable silence settled between them, broken only by the creak of the rocking chair and distant lowing of cattle. Maya closed her eyes, feeling the sun on her face, the baby moving beneath her heart, the strange peace of this place that had become an unexpected sanctuary. "Thank you," she said softly, "for sharing them with me, Sarah and Tommy." Eli's voice was gruff when he answered. "Way I figure it, Sarah led me to that highway cross. She always did have a way of knowing where she was needed." Maya opened her eyes, seeing the man before her more clearly than ever. His grief worn like an old comfortable shirt, his kindness offered without expectation. In this moment, in this light, she could almost believe in Sarah's miracles. The hawk wheeled once more and disappeared behind the barn, leaving them alone with the vast desert silence and the gentle rhythm of the rocking chair marking time like a heartbeat. The badge lay heavy in Maya's hands, gold-plated metal catching the firelight. She'd kept it as evidence, proof of what he was, what he'd done. Detective Michael James Reeves, Santa Fe PD. The man she'd married 5 years ago, before she understood that some monsters wear uniforms. "I was 26, she said quietly, Eli's presence steady in the armchair across from her, working dispatch at the station. He was charming, respected, everyone's favorite detective." Her thumb traced the badge number. The abuse started. Small, control disguised as concern. Tracking my phone, questioning my friends. Then came the hits, always where it wouldn't show. Eli's hands tightened on his coffee mug, but he remained silent, letting her words find their own pace. "I tried to report it 3 times. Bitter laughter caught in her throat. First time, his partner took the complaint. Lost the paperwork. Second time, the sergeant said it was a domestic matter, suggested marriage counseling. Third time, she touched her ribs, remembering. Third time, I learned that some walls are meant to stay standing. Outside, winter wind moaned through the fence posts. The fire popped, sending sparks up the chimney. When I found out I was pregnant, Maya's voice trembled. I'd given up hope by then, accepted that he'd probably kill me someday, but the baby... Her hand curved protectively over her belly. I couldn't let him destroy her too. So I ran. How'd he find you? Eli's voice was soft. Careful. Credit card. Stupid mistake. Was running low on cash. Needed gas. She set the badge on the coffee table, its presence like a dark star bending. Light. He caught up with me on that highway. Said if I wouldn't give him a family, I wouldn't give one to anyone. Her good hand fisted in her dress. I remember the first few hits, then nothing. Eli leaned forward, pouring more coffee into her cup. The domestic gesture felt incongruous against her words, but somehow grounding. His jurisdiction ends at Santa. V. Jurisdiction doesn't matter. He's got friends everywhere. Police unions, state troopers, county sheriffs. They protect their own. Maya sipped the coffee, letting its warmth fight back the chill of memory. That's why I kept going east. Thought maybe Texas or further. Somewhere his network couldn't reach. How far along were you when you ran? 4 months. Been on the road almost 3. She attempted a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Getting harder to move quick now. She's making her presence known. Eli nodded toward her splinted fingers. Those healing okay? Better. Sarah's medical books helped me understand the healing process. Found them in the study. She flexed her good hand. She was thorough in her notes. Detailed. Would have liked to have known her. She'd have liked you. Eli stood, adding another log to the fire. Strong women recognized each other, she always said. Maya watched the flames catch the new wood. I dream about him sometimes. Not the violence, the early days. His smile, his laugh, the way he'd bring me coffee at work. She shook her head. How do you trust your judgment again? After being so wrong about someone, Eli returned to his chair, his face thoughtful. Sarah used to say, trust's like muscle memory. Get hurt enough times, you forget how to do it. But with the right person, right situation, he gestured to his surroundings. It comes back. Different maybe, but it comes back. And if it doesn't, then you trust your instincts, the ones that got you this far. He met her eyes steadily, the ones that kept you both alive. Maya touched the badge again, its metal cold despite the fire's warmth. I should have thrown this away. Carrying it, it's like carrying him with me, or carrying proof. Evidence. Eli's voice hardened slightly. Might need it someday. The implication hung in the air between them. Maya studied his face, seeing something there she hadn't noticed before. A capacity for necessary violence carefully contained. It should have frightened her. Instead, she felt safer. You really think we're hidden here, she asked, that the ranch is enough? Desert's good at keeping secrets. Eli stood again, this time moving to the window. And I'm good at keeping what's mine safe. Maya felt the weight of those words, their unexpected comfort. Here was a man who'd lost everything once, now standing guard against it happening again. Not to her, not to her child. She picked up the badge one last time, then deliberately placed it in the fireplace. The gold plating darkened immediately. In the heat. Good, Eli said quietly, still watching the night. Let it burn. Maya leaned back, one hand on her active child, the other finally free of its burden. Outside, the wind continued its lonely song. But here, in this room warmed by fire and understanding, its threat felt distant, manageable. Like a storm already past. Maya found the unfinished baby blanket in Sarah's craft basket, half-formed and forgotten. Soft cream wool, partially knitted with a delicate pattern of leaves and vines. The needles were still attached, waiting for hands that would never return to complete it. Her fingers, mostly healed now, traced the intricate stitches. 6 weeks had passed since Eli found her on the highway. December had settled over the ranch, like a heavy quilt, bringing the shortest days of the year and long nights filled with starlight so bright it cast shadows. She was 3 months along, Eli's voice came from the doorway, making her start. When the accident happened, hadn't told anyone yet except me. He moved into the room, snow melting from his boots. Found her working on that the morning before everything. Maya carefully folded the blanket. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have been going through her things. No, it's... Eli pulled off his work gloves. It's good someone's touching them again. Living things need touch to grow. Outside, cattle lowed in the distance, their calls muffled by snow. Maya had learned the ranch's rhythms now. Morning feeding, afternoon checks, evening rounds. She'd started helping where she could, her body growing stronger, even as it grew. Heavier with child. The north pasture fence is damaged, Eli said, changing the subject. Ice brought down a section. Need to fix it before the heifers figure it out. I can help. Maya was already reaching for her coat, Sarah's coat worn soft. With years of desert winters, Eli looked like he might protest, then nodded. Extra hands wouldn't hurt, but you stay on the ATV, no walking in this snow. The ride to the north pasture was peaceful, the ATV's tracks the only mark on the pristine snow. Maya had learned to drive it last week after convincing Eli that she needed to be useful, needed to learn the ranch in case. They never finished that sentence, but its shadow lay between them like the long winter shadows on snow. The fence damage was worse than expected. 3 posts down, wire tangled like frozen snakes. Eli worked methodically, showing Maya how to hold the wire taut while he secured new posts. His hands were sure, practiced, hands that knew how to build, repair, protect. Sarah loved winter. "Best," he said suddenly, hammering a post into the frozen ground. Said it showed the bones of things, what's strong enough to last, what needs shore up. He tested the post's stability. Guess she was right about that. Maya watched a group of heifers in the distance, their breath steaming in the cold air. "I used to hate winter, meant more time trapped inside, nowhere to run." She adjusted her grip on the wire. "But here, it feels different, like time itself is standing still. Desert winters'll do that." Eli moved to the next section. "Strip everything down to essentials, what matters, what doesn't." They worked in comfortable silence, the wire gradually taking shape under their hands. Maya found herself studying Eli's profile against the winter sky, the strength in his shoulders, the gentle way he handled tools that could so easily harm. So different from Michael, whose strength had only ever been used to destroy. "You're good at this," she said softly, "building things back up." Eli secured the final section before answering. "Had to learn. After Sarah and Tommy, place nearly fell apart. Couldn't let their home die too." He straightened, surveying their work. "Sometimes fixing broken things fixes something in yourself." The sun was setting as they packed up the tools, painting the snow in shades of rose and gold. Maya felt the baby shift, responding to the cold or perhaps the peace of the moment. "She's active today," she said, rubbing her side. Eli helped her back onto the ATV. "Sarah used to say winter babies are strongest, have to be, to bloom in the cold." The ride back was slower, careful. Maya found herself thinking about the unfinished blanket, about things left undone and things waiting to begin. At the barn, Eli helped her down, his hands strong and careful. "Thank you," she said, "for letting me help today. Ranch works better with 2, he replied simply. Then, hesitating, "That blanket, if you want to finish it." Sarah would have liked that. Maya felt tears prick her eyes, blamed it on the cold. "I don't know how to knit. Got some books in the house, might show you, if you're interested." He busied himself with the tools. Not meeting her eyes. "Be nice having something growing around here again." That night, after Eli had gone to bed, Maya sat in Sarah's old rocking chair with the craft basket in her lap. The unfinished blanket lay across her knees, its pattern complex but not impossible. Like healing, like trust, like building something. New from broken pieces, she picked up the needles, found the place where Sarah had left off, and began to learn. The missing person poster crackled in the wind, stapled to the general store's bulletin board in Socorro. "Missing. Maya Reeves," it proclaimed, beneath a photo Maya barely recognized anymore. Herself from 3 years ago, hairstyled, makeup. Perfect, smile forced. Detective Michael Reeves offered a substantial reward for information leading to his endangered pregnant wife. Sheriff Jim Torres studied the poster one last time before climbing into his patrol car. Eli was overdue for a check-in, and something about this poster nagged at him. The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. He'd seen that look before in his 20 years of law enforcement. The radio crackled. "Dispatch to Sheriff Torres." "Go ahead." "Detective Reeves from Santa Fe PD called again. Wants to know if you've seen any sign of his wife." Jim touched the poster in his pocket. "Tell him nothing new to report. The drive to Eli's ranch took longer than usual. winter having scarred the dirt roads with ice and ruts. Jim had known. Eli Hart for 15 years watched him build a life with Sarah, lose it all, then retreat into himself like a turtle pulling into its shell. But lately, his friend's radio silence felt different, purposeful. The ranch came into view just as heavy. Clouds started spitting snow. Jim noticed changes immediately. Smoke from the chimney, lights in windows that had been dark for years, fresh tracks in the snow that didn't match Eli's usual patterns. He pulled up to the house, radar pinging. The door opened before he could knock, Eli filling the frame with careful casualness that set off more alarms in Jim's head. "Jim, didn't expect you today. Radio's been quiet. Thought I'd check in." Jim studied his friend's face. "Getting proper snow up here. Enough to keep me busy." Eli didn't invite him in. Another red flag. "Thought I saw extra tracks in your drive." "Getting visitors?" Something flickered in Eli's eyes. "Just me. Been using the ATV more, checking fences." Jim nodded slowly. "Heard about any missing persons lately? Young woman? Pregnant?" He watched Eli's face carefully. "Her husband's real worried. Detective from Santa Fe. Haven't been to town in weeks." Eli's voice was neutral, too neutral. "Weather, you know." A soft sound came from inside the house, perhaps a floorboard creaking, perhaps something more. Jim saw Eli's shoulders tense slightly. "Mind if I come in? Coffee would hit the spot. Place is a mess, been meaning to clean. Since when do you care about mess?" Jim took a step forward. Eli didn't move. "Jim." Eli's voice was quiet now. "Don't ask questions you don't want answered." They stared at each other, 15 years of friendship hanging in the balance. Jim thought about the poster in his pocket, the woman's eyes. Thought about Sarah, about how she died because people chose not to get involved. Finally, he stepped back. "Roads are getting bad. Should head back before the storm hits proper." He turned, then paused. "Eli, sometimes the law's about justice. Sometimes it's just about law. Meaning? Meaning I haven't seen anything worth reporting." Jim walked to. His car called over his shoulder. "Radio's been spotty lately. Might not work again till spring." He drove away slowly, watching in his rearview mirror as Eli remained in the doorway until the ranch disappeared behind swirling snow. The poster crinkled in his pocket, but Jim didn't turn back. Inside the house, Maya emerged from the back bedroom, face pale. "He knows." "Yeah." Eli shut the door against the gathering storm. "He knows. Will he?" "No." Eli's voice was certain. "Jim lost his sister to domestic violence 20 years ago. Never forgave himself for not seeing the signs." He turned to Maya. "We can trust him." Maya sank into a chair, hands protective over her belly. "The poster." Michael's escalating, getting desperate. Fear crept into her voice. "What if others come looking? Then we'll handle it." Eli's tone left no room for doubt. "Ranch is remote, roads are bad, winter's on our side." Maya watched snow beginning to fall harder outside the window. "I'm putting you at risk. Your friendship with the sheriff, your safety, my choice." Eli built up the fire, its warmth pushing back the winter chill. "Jim's right about one thing, law. And justice ain't always the same." They sat in silence, watching the storm erase their tracks, nature conspiring to keep their secrets. Maya felt the baby move, a reminder of everything at stake. "Spring's a long way off," Eli said finally. Then things will be different." Maya touched her growing belly, thinking of changes to come. "Different how? Don't know yet." Eli's voice was gentle. "But you won't face it alone." Outside, the storm settled in, wrapping the ranch in white silence. One set of tracks led away. From the house, tracks that would soon vanish, as if their visitor had never been there at all. The music box played Silent Night in delicate tinkling notes. Maya found it while helping Eli bring down Christmas decorations from the attic. A small wooden chest with a hand-painted scene of a winter farm on its lid. Inside, a tiny ballerina turned slowly, her pink paint slightly chipped, her dance eternal. "It was Sarah's," Eli said, carefully winding the key. "From her grandmother. She used to put it out every Christmas Eve, said it wasn't really the holidays until that ballerina danced. Maya set it on the mantel, beside a small artificial tree they'd found in the same box of decorations. 8 months pregnant now, her. Movements were slower, more deliberate. The baby had dropped lower, a constant pressure reminding her how little time remained before everything would change again. Tommy loved Christmas, Eli continued, untangling a string of lights. Used to. Wake us up at 4 in the morning every December 24th. Couldn't wait for midnight, when we'd let him open one present early. He smiled at the memory. Sarah made him hot chocolate with candy canes melted in it, called it Christmas magic in a cup. Maya hung a faded red ornament on the tree. We never had traditions. Michael said they were for kids, called them sentimental garbage. She touched her belly. This little one's going to have traditions, good memories, things to look forward to. Eli plugged in the lights, and the small tree came alive with warm color. Sarah would have liked that. She always said traditions were like anchors, keep you steady when life gets stormy. They worked in comfortable silence, the music box playing its gentle tune. Outside, snow fell in fat, lazy flakes, adding to the drifts that had isolated the ranch for the past week. Maya had finished Sarah's baby blanket, the pattern of leaves and vines now complete, waiting for its new purpose. Found this too, Eli said, holding up a small package wrapped in faded red paper. Sarah's last gift for Tommy. Never got to give it to him. He turned it over in his hands. Been up in that attic 3 years now. Maya touched his arm gently. Maybe it's time. Eli nodded slowly. Maybe it is. He set the package under the tree, its presence both painful and right. As evening settled in, they shared a simple dinner of beef stew and fresh bread. Maya had learned to cook in Sarah's kitchen, using her recipes, finding healing in the routine of measuring, mixing, creating. The baby was active tonight, as if sensing the special nature of the evening. Here, Maya said suddenly, taking Eli's hand. She placed it on her belly where the strongest kicks could be felt. She's dancing to the music box. Eli's eyes widened at the movement under his palm. They'd maintained careful physical boundaries these past months, but something about tonight, the music, the memories, the magic of Christmas Eve, made the touch feel natural, necessary. Strong little thing, he said softly, like a mama's getting to be. Maya met his eyes. Thanks to you, the music box played on, filling the comfortable silence between them. Maya studied Eli's face in the tree's colored lights, seeing the changes these months had brought. The grief was still there, would always be there, but it had softened somehow, made room for something new. I've been thinking, she said carefully, about spring, about what happens when the road's clear. Eli's hand dropped from her belly, but he didn't move away. Got some ideas about that. Oh, ranch needs help, real help, not just winter emergency stuff. He gestured to the window, where his land lay under its blanket of snow. Been letting things slide since before. Property this size needs 2 people, minimum. Maya's heart beat faster. Are you offering me a job? Eli Hart. Offering. You are home? His voice was quiet but sure. If you want it, you and the little one. The music box wound down, its last notes fading into the winter silence. Maya wound it again, buying time to steady her voice. What about Michael? He won't stop looking. Let him look. Steel entered Eli's tone. This is my land, my choice. Who stays on it? Maya watched the ballerina turn, thinking of other Christmas Eves, hiding from Michael's rages, praying for morning, believing she deserved nothing better. Now here she sat, in this warm room with its tiny tree and its healing memories, carrying a child who would never know that fear. Yes, she said simply. Eli looked at her. Yes? Yes to staying. Yes to making this home. She touched the music box gently. Yes to new traditions. Outside, the snow continued falling, erasing boundaries, softening edges. Inside, the ballerina danced on, witnessing the moment when grief's winter began to yield to spring's promise. Tomorrow would bring challenges, but tonight Tonight was for peace on earth, goodwill toward men, and the quiet miracle of hearts healing under Christmas lights. The threatening letter arrived with the January thaw, carried by a rare mail delivery to the ranch's rusted box at the end of the drive. No return address, Santa Fe postmark, typed with clinical precision. I know where she is. I know what you're hiding. She's my wife, my child. Walk away now, or what happened to your family will look like mercy. Eli stood in the winter sunshine, reading the words again, feeling their poison seep into the peaceful morning. Maya was in the barn, doing the morning feed she'd insisted on helping with, despite being nearly 9 months pregnant. He could hear her talking to the horses, her voice carrying on the crisp air. The letter crackled in his tightening grip. Michael had found them, or at least suspected. The carefully typed threats showed a cop's understanding of what could be proven, what couldn't. No explicit threats, no direct admissions, just enough menace to make its point. Mail come. Maya's voice behind him made him start. She'd gotten quiet in her movements these past months, losing the fearful skitter that had marked her early days. At the ranch, Eli turned, tucking the letter into his pocket. Just some bills. But Maya had already seen his face, learned to read its subtle shifts. It's him, isn't it? He's found us. Not exactly. Eli led her back toward the house, arm supporting her instinctively on the icy path. Inside, he handed her the letter, watched her face pale as she read. He's guessing, she said finally, but her hand trembled. The sheriff. Jim must have talked. No. Eli's voice was firm. Jim's solid. But Michael's a detective, probably been checking every ranch, every remote property within 500 miles of where he left you. Maya sank into Sarah's rocking chair, one hand pressed against her belly. He'll come. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but he'll come. Fear crept into her voice. The baby's due in 3 weeks. I can't run again. You won't have to. Eli took the letter from her slack fingers, fed it into the wood stove. This is your home now. Time to stop running. Eli, you read. What he wrote. About your family. He's trying to scare me off, make me choose the safe path. Eli's voice hardened. But I've walked the safe path. Walked it for 3 years after Sarah and Tommy died. Didn't save them. Didn't heal anything. He knelt before her chair. I'm done being safe. Maya studied his face, seeing the quiet determination there. He's dangerous, Eli. More than you know. So am I. The words came out soft, matter of fact. Did 2 tours in Afghanistan before settling. Here, know how to handle myself, know how to protect what's mine. The possessive word hung in the air between them, its meaning clear. Maya felt the baby shift, responding to her tension, or perhaps to Eli's proximity. I won't let you die for us, she whispered, not planning on dying. Eli stood, moving to the window, planning on living. All of us. He turned back to her. But we need to be ready. Need to make some preparations. Maya nodded slowly, her initial fear hardening into resolve. Tell me what to do. Over the next hour, Eli laid out his plans. The ranch's defensive advantages, its vulnerabilities, where to hide, how to call for help, when to run and when to stand. Maya listened, adding her own insights about Michael's tactics, his weaknesses. He'll come at night, she said. He likes the dark, makes him feel powerful. Eli checked his rifle, an old Winchester that had been his father's. Darkness works both ways. Ranch has changed since Christmas. He won't know the layout, won't expect. Resistance. He'll bring others, other cops probably, ones who owe him favors. Let him. Eli's voice was quiet. More witnesses to what happens next. Maya touched his arm. What does happen next, Eli? He covered her hand with his. Whatever. Needs to happen to keep you safe, both of you. The baby kicked against their joined hands, as if in agreement. Outside, clouds were gathering, promising more snow. Maya watched them build, thinking of other storms weathered, other threats faced. But this felt different. This time she wasn't. Alone, wasn't running. I'm scared, she admitted. Not of him, not really. Scared of losing this, the ranch, the peace we've found. You. Eli Eli's hand tightened on hers. Some things, once found, can't be lost. Not really. He smiled slightly. Sarah taught me that. Still feel her here, still feel Tommy. Love doesn't end, just changes shape. Maya leaned into his strength, feeling the baby settle between them. The threatening letter might be ash in the wood stove, but its shadow remained, a reminder that their winter sanctuary couldn't last forever. But maybe it didn't need to. Maybe what came next would be stronger than sanctuary. Maybe it would be home. The gun cabinet had belonged to Eli's father, solid oak with brass fittings and a beveled glass front that reflected the winter afternoon light. Maya had never noticed it before, tucked away in Eli's study behind boxes of Sarah's medical books. Now it stood open, its contents laid out on the desk with military precision. "My father believed in being prepared," Eli said, checking the action. "On a Remington shotgun. Taught me to shoot when I was 10. Sarah didn't like guns much, but she learned. Said out here they're just tools like her medical supplies." Maya held the .38 special revolver Eli had chosen for her, feeling its weight. 2 weeks had passed since the letter, 2 weeks of quiet preparation. The baby could come any day now, making their timeline desperate. "Grip it like this," Eli demonstrated, his hands steady on hers. "Thumb here, finger along the frame until you're ready to shoot." He adjusted her stance. "Remember what I taught you about breathing?" "In, half out, squeeze," Maya recited. The gun felt alien in her hands, yet necessary, like so much else in her life now. Good. Again. They'd been practicing daily, empty shells scattered across the ranch's backfield like strange seeds. Maya had surprised herself with her accuracy, some deep well of determination translating into tight groupings on the paper targets. "Michael always said women couldn't shoot straight," she said, lowering the revolver. "Said we're too emotional, too weak." Eli's face hardened. "Michael's about to learn different." They moved through the drill again, Maya's movements becoming more fluid despite her advanced pregnancy. Eli had modified her stance to accommodate her changed center of gravity, teaching her to use it rather than fight it. "I've called in some help," he said, as they cleaned the weapons later. "Old Army buddy Dave Martinez lives about 3 hours south. He'll be here tomorrow." Maya looked up from where she was learning to reassemble the .38. "Can he be trusted?" "With my life. With yours." Eli's hands moved automatically over the shotgun's parts. "Did 2 tours with him?" "He's solid." "What did you tell him?" "Enough. He knows about Michael being a cop, knows about the baby." Eli checked the shotgun's action. "One final time. Dave's sister went through something similar. He gets it." Maya nodded, fitting the last piece of the revolver into place. The sound of it clicking together was satisfying, definitive, like pieces of herself coming together, becoming stronger. "There's something else we need to discuss," Eli said carefully. "If things go wrong, if something happens to me, don't." "Maya." His voice was gentle but firm. "We need to be practical. There's a safe room in the barn's root cellar, storm shelter originally, but I've reinforced it, stocked it with supplies, radio, everything you'd need." She stood abruptly, pacing the small study. "I won't hide while you die for us." "You'll do exactly that." Eli's tone brooked no argument. "That baby needs her mother, and I need to know you're safe, or I can't do what needs doing." Maya felt tears threaten, blamed them on pregnancy hormones. "I can't lose you too. Can't lose this home we've built." "You won't." Eli crossed to her, hands strong and sure on her shoulders. "But we prepare for everything. That's how we win." The baby kicked, making Maya wince. She'd been more active lately, as if sensing the tension around her. Eli's hand moved to Maya's belly, a gesture that had become natural these past weeks. "Little warrior," he said softly, taking after her mama. Maya covered his hand with hers. "I never thought I'd find this. Strength, purpose, a real home. Been thinking about that." Eli's voice was carefully neutral. "After all this is over, if you wanted, there's papers in my desk, adoption papers, for the baby." He met her eyes. "And marriage papers, if you wanted those too." Maya's breath caught. "Eli, don't answer now." he said quickly. Just something to think about. For after, the word after, hung between them, full of promise and danger. Maya looked at their hands joined over her child, at the weapons laid out like strange tokens of love and protection, at the life they'd built. In these precious winter months, ask me again, she said softly. After. Ask me again. Eli nodded, understanding all she couldn't say. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the snow in shades of rose and gold. Soon, darkness would come, bringing them one day closer to whatever waited at winter's end, but they would meet it together, armed with more than just the weapons in that old oak cabinet. Armed with love, with purpose, with the fierce determination to protect what they'd found in each other. Maya picked up the revolver again, settled into her stance. Show me that breathing exercise one more time. Eli smiled, pride, and something deeper warming his eyes. In, half out, squeeze. Just like that. The weather radio crackled with static before the automated voice cut through. The National Weather Service has issued a severe winter storm warning for Socorro County. Expect 12 to 18 inches of snow, wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour. Travel will be impossible. Seek shelter immediately. Maya gripped the kitchen counter as another contraction seized her stronger than the last. The baby had chosen the worst possible moment to make her arrival, just as the storm of the century bore down on New Mexico. Through the window, she watched Eli and Dave securing the barn, their figures barely visible through the thickening snow. Not yet, little one, she whispered, rubbing her belly. Just a few more hours. Let your daddy get back from town. But the baby, like the storm, had plans of her own. Maya felt the telltale warm gush that meant her water had broken. Sarah's medical books had prepared her for this moment, but reading about labor and experiencing it were vastly different things. Dave burst through the door in a swirl of snow, stamping his boots. Eli's gone to town for the medical supplies. Says to tell you he'll be back before dark. He saw her face, her stance. Maya, what's wrong? The baby, she managed between breaths. She's coming. Dave's military training kicked in. In the week he'd been at the ranch, Maya had come to trust. His steady presence, his quiet competence. Now she saw him shift into crisis mode, already reaching for his radio. Eli, you copy? Static answered. Eli, come in. Nothing. Storms knocked out the signal, Maya said, another contraction building. Dave, I need... On it! He was already moving, gathering the supplies they'd prepared for this moment. Sarah's medical kit, clean towels, the satellite phone they'd kept charged for emergencies. But when he tried the satellite phone, the screen remained dark. Battery's dead. His voice was tight. Must have failed in the cold. Maya made it to the couch just as another contraction hit, stronger than before. Through the pain, her mind raced. Eli had taken the truck to town for additional medical supplies, worried they weren't prepared enough. The storm had blown in faster than predicted, cutting visibility to near zero. How far apart? Dave asked, timing the contractions on his watch. 5 minutes, maybe less. Maya tried to focus on her breathing, the way Sarah's books had described. Dave, if Eli doesn't make it back, he'll make it. Dave's voice held military certainty. Man crossed Afghanistan under fire. Little snow won't stop him. But they both knew this was more than a little snow. The wind howled like a living thing, rattling windows, finding every crack in the old ranch house. The power flickered once, twice, then died. Generator, Dave said, already moving. Don't move, I'll be right back. Maya watched him disappear into the white fury outside, one hand clutching Sarah's medical kit. Help me, she whispered, unsure. If she was talking to Sarah's ghost or God or both. Help me do this right. The contractions were coming faster now, building in intensity. Maya thought of everything she'd learned these past months. Strength she didn't know she had. Love she didn't think she deserved. A home she never expected to find. Now it all came down to this moment, to bringing new life into the world in the middle of a storm. Dave returned, snow crusting his beard. Generators running but barely. Fuel lines nearly frozen. He knelt beside her, face grim. Maya, I need to check the road. If Eli's out there, go, she said through gritted teeth. I'll be okay for a few minutes. Radio's in my pocket. Signal probably won't reach, but try anyway if you need to. He squeezed her hand. You're not alone. Remember that. After he left, Maya focused on her breathing, on the baby's movements, on anything except the fear trying to claw its way up her throat. The generator hummed, then coughed, then died, plunging the house into grey twilight. Just us now, little one, she whispered. The pain was constant, primal. Her body knew what to do, even if her mind was terrified. Your daddy's coming, he promised. And Eli Hart keeps his promises. The wind screamed around the house, snow building in drifts against the windows. Maya thought of Michael, wondered if he was out there too, using the storm as cover. But that fear felt distant now, overwhelmed by the more immediate crisis of bringing this child into the world. Another contraction gripped her, and Maya felt the baby shift, descending. Sarah's medical books had been clear about this part. Transition, the point of no return. Outside, the storm raged. Somewhere in that white fury, two men searched for a path home through impossible weather. But here, in this room where Sarah had once dreamed of her own child, Maya prepared to meet her daughter. Ready or not, storm or no storm, new life was coming, and she would not face it alone. Time lost meaning in the darkness. Maya moved through contractions like waves in a storm-tossed sea, each one carrying her closer to some distant shore. She'd managed to light candles, their flames casting Sarah's medical books in flickering shadows as she checked them between panes. Crown, then shoulders, she breathed, memorizing the diagrams. The books had become her anchor, Sarah's neat marginalia offering guidance like whispered advice. Watch for cord. Clear airways. A particularly strong contraction doubled her over. Dave hadn't returned from checking the road, and the silence between wind gusts felt heavy with possibility. Maya forced herself to focus on the immediate, the necessary. She could feel the baby moving lower, an inexorable progress that both terrified and strengthened her. Headlights swept across the windows, a truck's high beams fighting through the snow. Maya's heart leaped, then froze. Eli's truck? Or had Michael finally found them, using the storm as cover? The front door burst open, bringing a swirl of snow and two snow-covered figures. Maya reached for the .38 hidden beneath the couch cushions before recognizing Eli's voice. Maya? He was already shrugging off his ice-crusted coat. Medical supplies, clutched in his arms. Dave radioed, said the baby. Another contraction cut off her response. Eli was beside her instantly, his cold hands gentle on her face. How far apart? 2 minutes, she gasped. Maybe less. Eli, I can't. Yes, you can. His voice held the same quiet certainty that had saved her on the highway. We've got supplies now. Dave? Roads drifting shut, Dave reported, helping unpack. The medical supplies. Maybe an hour before it's completely blocked. No sign of company, but in this weather. He shrugged. Can't see more than 10 feet ahead. Eli nodded grimly. Get the generator running again. We'll need light. He turned back to Maya, his face softening. Okay, sweetheart. Let's meet this daughter of yours. The next hour passed in a blur of pain and purpose. Eli moved with surprising competence, his hands steady as he prepared for the birth. Sarah taught me more than I realized, he said, arranging supplies. Used to practice scenarios with me. Said you never know when knowledge might save a life. Maya grabbed his hand as another contraction peaked. She knew, she panted. Somehow she knew you'd need it. The generator roared to life, lights flickering on, just as Maya felt the overwhelming urge to push. Dave stationed himself by the window, weapon ready, dividing his attention between the storm outside and the drama within. Next contraction, Eli said, positioned at her feet. Push like we practiced. Dave, we need more hot water. Maya bore down, feeling the baby move. Through the pain, she was aware of Eli's steady encouragement, of Dave's quiet efficiency. of Sarah's presence in every dog-eared page of medical wisdom. Heads crowning, Eli announced. "Maya, look at me. You're doing great. One more big push." She gathered her remaining strength, thinking of everything that had led to this moment. The highway where Eli had found her. The ranch that had become home. The love that had grown as quietly as the child now fighting to enter the world. Now, Maya, push! With a final effort, Maya felt the baby slide free. For one terrifying moment, silence filled the room. Then a strong cry cut through the storm's howl, indignant, alive, perfect. "Girl," Eli's voice was thick with emotion. "Just like you said. Dave, the clamps." Maya watched through tears as Eli handled the cord with professional precision, his hands sure on their daughter's tiny body. "Sarah would be proud," she whispered, "of both of us." Eli laid the baby on her chest, and Maya felt her world reshape itself around this small, warm weight. Dark hair, pink skin, tiny fists waving in outrage at the cold. Perfect. "She needs a name," Eli said softly, one hand resting on the baby's back. Maya touched her daughter's cheek, marveling at its softness. "Sarah," she said, "Sarah Grace Hart, if that's okay." Eli's eyes glistened in the generator's harsh light. "More than okay." Dave cleared his throat from his post by the window. "Storm's letting up a bit. Road'll be clear by morning." He paused. "Want me to radio Jim? Let him know about the new arrival?" Eli nodded, not taking his eyes off the baby. "Tell him Sarah Grace Hart was born at 9:47 p.m. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Mother and daughter doing fine." His voice caught slightly. "Tell him! Tell him she's got her namesake's fighting spirit." Maya held her daughter close, breathing in her newborn scent. Outside, the storm began to ease, snow falling in gentle waves rather than driving sheets. Dawn would bring its own challenges, its own storms to weather. But for now, in this moment, they were safe, they were family. Sarah Grace Hart blinked up at her parents, grabbed Eli's finger with surprising strength, and settled into sleep, unaware that her very existence was both miracle and defiance, both ending and beginning. The baby mobile turned slowly in the February breeze, its handcrafted figures catching the late winter light. Eli had made it from old ranch materials, copper wire twisted into delicate shapes, bits of colored glass catching sun like captured stars, small carved wooden animals dancing in endless circles. Above Sarah Grace's crib, it cast ever-changing patterns on the walls of what had once been Tommy's room. 3 weeks had passed since the birth, weeks of quiet joy and deepening peace. Maya sat in the rocking chair, watching her daughter sleep beneath the mobile's gentle dance. The baby had Eli's quiet nature, Sarah's delicate features, or so Dave had said before reluctantly returning to his own ranch, promising to stay in radio contact. "She's growing," Eli said from the doorway, his sock feet silent on the wooden floors. He'd taken to moving quietly, not wanting to wake the baby, getting stronger every day. Maya smiled, touching one of the mobile's wooden figures, a small horse carved with painstaking detail. "Like her daddy's artwork? Just something to keep my hands busy during night watches." But pride colored his voice. He moved to stand behind her chair, one hand resting on her shoulder. "How's the incision?" "Healing clean." Maya touched the C-section scar through her shirt, remembering the frightening moments when the birth had complicated, when Eli's steady. "My hands and Sarah's medical books had made the difference between life and death." "You did good work. We did good work," he corrected softly. "All of us." The sound of truck tires on the gravel drive made them both stiffen. But it was just Jim's weekly patrol, his familiar figure visible through the nursery window. As he pulled up to the house, Eli squeezed her shoulder. "Stay here. I'll talk to him." Maya listened to the men's voices drift up from the porch, too distant to make out words. Jim had been their strongest ally these past months, keeping Michael's search focused away from the ranch, spreading word that Maya had been spotted heading east toward Texas. Sarah Grace stirred in her sleep, tiny fingers flexing. Maya touched them gently, marveling at their perfection. On the wall, a framed birth certificate declared her daughter's name, her place in the world. Eli had filed it himself, his signature next to hers. Everything legal and proper, Jim says. The roads are finally clearing, Eli reported, returning to the nursery. Spring coming early this year. Maya heard what he wasn't saying. With clear roads would come renewed searches, increased danger. Michael wouldn't stop looking, wouldn't accept losing control. He'll come, she said quietly, not wanting to wake. The baby, yes. Eli's voice was equally soft. Jim's heard rumors. Michael's been suspended, erratic behavior. He's burned through most of his allies, but the dangerous ones are still loyal. How many? 3, maybe 4. Former military, like him. Jim says they've been asking questions in Socorro, showing Maya's picture. Sarah Grace whimpered in her sleep, perhaps sensing the tension in the room. Maya lifted her daughter, holding her close. The baby settled instantly, recognizing her mother's heartbeat. I won't let him take her, Maya whispered fiercely. Won't let him hurt her like he hurt me. No, Eli agreed, his voice hardening. We won't. He touched the baby's dark hair, so like Maya's. Dave's coming back tomorrow. Says he won't miss. The party? Maya looked up at him. Party? Figure it's time to make some things official. Eli's voice was carefully casual. Jim's bringing a judge he trusts. Dave's bringing witnesses. If you still want those papers signed, Maya's heart stuttered. The adoption papers, the marriage license, future and safety bound together in legal documents. You don't have to answer now, Eli continued quickly. Just thought, yes. Maya's voice was firm, certain. Yes to all of it. Eli knelt beside the rocking chair, one hand cupping Sarah Grace's head, the other finding Maya's fingers. You sure? Even with everything coming? Because of everything coming. Maya met his eyes. I want her to have your name. Want to face whatever comes as your wife, not his. Outside, Jim's truck started up, carrying away news of Michael's approaching threat. But in the nursery, time seemed to pause. The mobile turned slowly overhead, its shadows dancing across their faces. Sarah Grace slept peacefully between them, unaware of the storms gathering on her horizon. Tomorrow, then, Eli said softly, we'll make it official. All of it. Maya leaned into his strength, feeling the rightness of this moment, this choice. Think Sarah would approve? Sarah? Eli smiled, touching the mobile he'd crafted with such care. Sarah's been approving since that day on the highway. Been pushing us toward this all along. The baby stirred, dark eyes blinking open. Maya saw in them all the promise of tomorrow, all the strength of the family they'd built from broken pieces and winter storms, and love that grew wild as desert flowers. Welcome to the Hart family, little one, Eli whispered, for real and for always. The wedding ring glinted in the moonlight before Michael crushed it under his boot, grinding gold into the ranch's gravel drive. Maya watched from the nursery window, Sarah Grace sleeping peacefully in her crib behind her. The small ceremony with the judge had ended barely 6 hours ago. Now Michael had come to end it all. 4 vehicles had pulled up without headlights, Michael's SUV and 3 other cars carrying his loyal followers. Maya counted 7 men, all armed, all with the dangerous confidence of corrupt cops who believed themselves above the law. Art! Michael's voice carried clearly in the cold night air. Send out my wife and child, and maybe you walk away from this. Maya's hand found the .38 special holstered at her back, now as familiar as a friend. Eli and Dave were already in position, Eli in the barn's sniper nest, Dave covering the back of the house. Jim was on his way, with state police reinforcements, but they were still 30 minutes out. Last chance, Hart. Michael's voice held the edge of madness Maya remembered too well. Do the smart thing. The ranch's floodlights blazed to life, momentarily blinding the intruders. Eli's first countermove. Maya used the confusion to slip downstairs to her designated position. Sarah Grace, secure in the reinforced safe room, with emergency supplies and a satellite phone. Smart thing? Eli's voice rang out, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere. Smart thing would have been staying suspended, Michael. Smart thing would have been accepting she's not your property. Michael's laugh held no humor. That's where you're wrong, Hart. Everything here is my property, my wife, my child. A shot rang out, taking out one of the floodlights. My game. Maya moved to her position behind the reinforced kitchen wall, checking her weapon just as Eli had taught her. Through the window she saw Michael's men spreading out, using their vehicles as cover. 7 minutes, Dave's voice whispered through her radio. Keep them talking 7 minutes. Cavalry's coming. Maya clicked her radio once in acknowledgement. 7 minutes, she could do this, had to do this. Michael, she called out, making him freeze in his advance. Did you really think I'd come back, after everything? Maya. His voice changed, becoming the honey-sweet tone that had once fooled her. Baby, I've changed. Come home. Let me meet my daughter. She's not yours. Maya's voice held steel now. Certainty. She's a Hart. Has been since the day you left me to die. Michael's response was a burst of gunfire that shattered the kitchen window. Maya ducked, hearing return fire from Eli's position. One of Michael's men went down, clutching his shoulder. That's one. Eli's calm voice came through the radio. Dave, watch your 3 o'clock. More shots exchanged. Maya heard running feet on the porch and fired through the wall where Eli had marked the weak spots. A cry of pain told her she'd hit her target. 2, she reported. My girl. Eli's pride was clear even through radio static. Michael was shouting orders now, his cool facade cracking. Burn it all. The smell of gasoline filled the air. Maya's heart clenched, but Eli's voice remained steady. Maya, remember the sprinklers. She hit the control panel beside her, and the ranch's fire suppression system, newly installed last week, roared to life. The intruders' curses filled the air as their ammunition and electronics were soaked. 3 minutes, Dave reported. They're breaking formation. Maya heard Michael's frustrated scream. Hart, face me like a man. Oh, I am. Eli's voice was closer now. Maya realized he'd changed positions. Question is, are you man enough to face me? A shot rang out, followed by the sound of breaking glass. Maya's blood ran cold as she realized Michael had found the nursery window. No! The cry tore from her throat as she ran for the stairs, forgetting the plan, forgetting everything except her baby. But Eli had anticipated this. The nursery was empty, the crib a decoy. Even as Michael swung through the broken window, he was facing the wrong direction, facing the crib instead of the closet where Dave now stood. Drop it, Dave's voice was glacial, real slow. Michael spun, but too late. Maya reached the doorway just as Dave's tackle took them both down. The gun went skidding across the floor. Michael's backup piece, the one he'd always hidden in his boot. Maya picked it up, aimed it at the man who had once been her everything. It's over, Michael. He looked up at her, blood trickling from his split lip, and finally saw her. Really saw her. Not his possession, not his victim, something else entirely. Maya, for the first time, fear colored his voice. I said it's over. Her finger steady on the trigger, just as Eli had taught her. Sarah Grace Hart is my daughter. Eli Hart is my husband. The divorce and restraining order papers lay on the courthouse desk like fallen leaves, their official seals glinting under fluorescent lights. Maya signed her name with steady strokes, each signature another brick in the wall between past and future. Beside her, Sarah Grace slept in her carrier, 3 months old and growing stronger every day. That's the last one, the judge said, the same one who had married her to Eli 6 weeks ago. She shuffled the papers, adding them to a thick file. Given the evidence and Detective Reeves's actions, the court grants your petition for divorce, permanent restraining order, and sole custody of Sarah Grace Hart. Maya touched her daughter's cheek, marveling at how much had changed since that night of confrontation. Michael and his companions sat in jail, their badges surrendered, their true natures exposed. The investigation had uncovered years of corruption, Domestic violence complaints buried, witnesses intimidated. Mrs. Hart, the judge's voice was gentle. There's someone who'd like to speak with you. Maya turned to find a woman standing in the courtroom doorway, perhaps 50, with familiar eyes. I'm Michael's mother, she said softly. Patricia. Maya instinctively moved closer to her daughter, but the older woman raised her hands. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here to apologize. She stepped forward slowly, like approaching a wild animal. I knew, all these years, I knew what he was doing. To you, to others, I told myself it wasn't my place to interfere. Tears slid down Patricia's cheeks. When I saw the evidence photos, saw what he did to you pregnant, I should have stopped him years ago. Should have been brave, like you. Maya felt Eli's solid presence behind her, drawing strength from his quiet support. It's not your fault, she said finally. He made his choices. Yes, Patricia wiped her eyes. But so did you. Better choices. She looked at Sarah Grace, sleeping peacefully. She's beautiful, like her mother. She reached into her purse, withdrew an envelope. This is for her. College fund. Can't make up for what Michael did, but maybe it can help build her future. Maya accepted the envelope, feeling its weight. Thank you. No. Patricia shook her head. Thank you for stopping him, for being stronger than I was. She turned to leave, then paused. That man of yours, he's a good one. The kind Michael pretended to be. After she left, Maya leaned back against Eli's chest, his arms coming around her and their daughter. You okay? He asked quietly. Better than okay. Maya watched the judge filing their paperwork, making everything official. I'm free. The drive back to the ranch was peaceful, Sarah Grace babbling happily in her car seat. The desert had bloomed early this year, purple and yellow, wildflowers dotting the landscape like scattered gems. New life pushing through old earth. Dave radioed, Eli said as they turned onto their road. Says he's finished the nursery expansion, wants to know if he can be godfather. Maya smiled, remembering Dave's steady presence during the fight, his gentle way with Sarah Grace after. Think we can trust a former army ranger with tea parties and dollhouses? Man helped deliver her. Think he's earned tea party rights. They crested the final hill, the ranch spread out before them in the spring sunshine. The barn's new roof gleamed, the house's fresh paint glowed warm and welcoming. So much had changed since that winter day when Eli found her broken on the highway. Jim's retiring end of summer, Eli said carefully. Asked if I'd consider taking his place. Sheriff's department could use some cleaning up. Maya looked at him sharply. You thinking about it? Maybe. Could do some good. Help other women like you. Before it goes too far. He glanced in the rearview mirror at their sleeping daughter. Show Sarah Grace that protecting people is what Hart men do. And Hart women, Maya added, thinking of her shooting lessons, her steady hands during the fight. And Hart women, Eli. Agreed, pride warming his voice. They pulled up to the house just as Dave emerged from the barn, tools in hand. He'd been staying with them off and on, helping rebuild after the fight's damage, becoming the uncle Sarah Grace already adored. Welcome home, he called, then gestured to the house. Got a surprise for you. Inside, they found the nursery transformed. Dave had expanded it into Tommy's old room, but carefully, respectfully. One wall held a hand-painted mural of desert wildflowers. Another displayed family photos, old ones of Sarah and Tommy, new ones of their growing family. The handmade mobile still danced overhead, its shadows playing across new life built on cherished memories. It's perfect, Maya whispered, tears threatening. Eli squeezed her hand. It's home. Sarah Grace woke then, demanding attention with her father's quiet determination and her mother's fighting spirit. Maya lifted her daughter, breathing in her sweet baby scent, feeling the rightness of this moment. The divorce papers in her bag held one chapter's ending. But here, in this room filled with love and memory and promise, a new chapter was already being written, one where justice meant more than punishment. It meant healing, growth, and the courage to build something beautiful from broken pieces. The new family portrait hung above the fireplace, replacing the space where Eli's old one had been. Maya had insisted the original stay up too, moved to the study where Sarah's medical books still lined the shelves. "Some memories shouldn't be packed away," she'd said. "They're part of who we are." The new photo captured them on Dave's last day at the ranch. Eli holding Sarah Grace, Maya leaning into them both, Dave standing proud as the newly appointed godfather. Jim had taken the picture, joking that his retirement gift to himself was seeing the Hart family whole again. Summer heat shimmered outside as Maya worked in Sarah's garden, another new addition to the ranch. She'd planted herbs first, the kind Sarah had used in her medical practice, then vegetables, flowers, and finally a small apple tree, something for Sarah Grace to grow up with, to climb in, to remember her childhood by, like mother, like daughter. Eli said from the porch, watching Sarah Grace pat the dirt with tiny hands, mimicking Maya's movements. At 6 months old, she was already showing Maya's determination and Eli's quiet strength. "She'll be walking soon," Maya said, wiping sweat from her brow. "Dave says he's coming back to baby-proof the barn." "Good luck with that." Eli descended the steps, scooping up their dirt-covered daughter. "This one's going to be climbing before she walks, already tries to escape her crib." Maya smiled, remembering the first time they'd found Sarah Grace halfway up the crib rails, Dave's handmade mobile just out of reach. "Speaking of escape artists, how's the new job?" Eli had accepted the sheriff's position 2 months ago, after Jim's quiet but firm insistence. The department was changing under his leadership, prioritizing domestic violence cases, establishing new protocols for handling abuse complaints. "Better," he said, settling on the garden bench with Sarah Grace. "Got 2 new deputies starting next week. Good people. Dave vetted them himself." Maya nodded, turning back to her planting. She'd started counseling other survivors at the women's shelter in Socorro, using her experience to help others find their strength. Some had even stayed at the ranch temporarily, finding healing in the same peaceful isolation that had saved. "Her had a call today," Eli continued carefully, "from the prison chaplain. Michael's asking to speak with you." Maya's hands stilled in the earth. 6 months had passed since the night of confrontation, since Michael's arrest and imprisonment. She hadn't spoken his name since the divorce was final. "What do you think?" she asked, not turning around. "I think it's your choice." Eli's voice was steady, supportive. "You don't owe him anything, but if you want closure—" Maya sat back on her heels, looking at the garden she'd built. Healing herbs and growing things, life pushing through soil that had once seemed barren. Like her heart, like this home, like everything they'd built together. "Will you come with me? Try and stop me." Sarah Grace squirmed in her father's arms, reaching for a butterfly that danced through Maya's flowers. Her laugh, pure and uninhibited, made both parents smile. "Then yes," Maya said finally. "One last time, to show him what he lost, what I found." She stood, brushing dirt from her jeans. "To show him I'm not afraid anymore." Eli shifted Sarah Grace to one arm, pulled Maya close with the other. She leaned into his strength, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "You know what Sarah would say about this?" he murmured into her hair. "What?" "She'd say healing isn't just about getting better, it's about getting stronger where you were broken." Maya touched the small heart-shaped locket at her throat, a gift from Patricia, containing tiny photos of Sarah Grace on one side and the original Sarah on the other. 2 women who had shaped this family in different ways, their love echoing through generations. "I like that," she said softly, "being stronger where we were broken." Sarah Grace patted Maya's cheek with a dirt-covered hand, leaving a perfect tiny handprint. Maya laughed, really laughed, the sound carrying across the ranch like music. "Come on," she said, taking her daughter back. "Bath time for this little gardener. Then we'll call Dave, tell him about Michael. He'll want to be there too." "Whole family," Eli agreed, following them toward the house. Maya paused in the doorway, looking back at her garden, at the desert beyond, at the highway cross in the far distance where everything had changed. Whole family, she repeated softly. Inside, the new family portrait caught the summer light, while in the study, the old one kept its quiet vigil. Different seasons, different loves, all part of the same story. A story of healing, of growth, of finding strength in broken places and beauty. In Unexpected Gardens, Sarah Grace reached for Dave's mobile. Its dancing shadows a reminder that some things, like love, like family, like healing, were meant to keep moving, keep growing, keep reaching for the light. The new ranch sign caught the morning light, its freshly painted letters clear against. The weathered wood, Hart Family Ranch, Est 1985. Below, 3 names had been carved with careful precision: Eli, Maya, Sarah Grace. Dave had made it as a first birthday present for his goddaughter, who now toddled beside Maya on their daily walk to the highway cross. 1 year had passed since the night of confrontation. 1 year of healing, growing, building. The ranch had flourished under their joint care, becoming both working cattle operation and unofficial sanctuary for women seeking safety and renewal. Sarah Grace reached for the wooden cross with familiar curiosity, her dark curls catching the sunrise. "Mama," she said, one of her few clear words. At the sound, Maya felt the presence of the other Sarah, the first Sarah, whose legacy lived on in this child's name and in the life they'd built. "That's right, little one," Maya said softly. "This is where our story began, where your daddy found us." "Found family," Eli's voice came from behind them. He'd followed on horseback, as he often did during their morning ritual. "All of us." Maya watched him dismount, remembering their visit to Michael in prison 3 months ago. Her former husband had aged decades in custody, his arrogance replaced by a hollow desperation she barely recognized. She'd said what she needed to say, shown him the family photos he'd asked to see, then walked away without looking back. Real closure, she'd learned, wasn't about confrontation. It was about choosing to live fully, freely, beyond the shadow of past pain. "Jim's coming for dinner," Eli said, lifting Sarah Grace onto his shoulders. "Says he's got news about the shelter expansion." The women's shelter in Socorro had grown under their guidance. With Dave's security expertise and Jim's continued support. Even in retirement, what had started as emergency housing had become a full program of healing, education, and empowerment. "Patricia called too," Maya added, falling into step beside them as they headed back to the ranch. "Asked if we'd host another graduation ceremony for the shelter's job training program." Eli smiled, steadying Sarah Grace as she played with his hat. "Guess we're not so isolated anymore." "No," Maya agreed, "but still peaceful, still healing." They crested the hill, the ranch spread out before them in the morning light. The barn where Eli had kept watch that night now housed a small classroom for the shelter's programs. The guest room where Maya had first awakened was now a counseling space. Sarah's medical books had been joined by others. Texts on trauma recovery, legal resources, guides to financial independence. The garden had expanded too, its neat rows, providing food and purpose for shelter residents. The apple tree was still small, but growing straight and strong, already bearing its first fruits. Like Sarah Grace, like the ranch itself, it promised sweeter harvests to come. "Look," Eli said softly, pointing to the fence line. A family of deer grazed peacefully, unafraid. Sarah Grace clapped her hands in delight, and the sound carried across. "The morning air like bells. Dada," she said clearly, patting Eli's head. "Home." Maya felt tears prick her eyes at the simple truth in those words. Home. Not just a place of safety, but a place of purpose. Not just an escape, but a beginning. They reached the house just as Dave's truck pulled up, right on time for his weekly. A visit. Sarah Grace squirmed to be let down, running to her godfather with the perfect trust of the deeply loved. "There's my girl!" Dave scooped her up, producing a small wooden horse from his pocket. His latest carving project. "Ready for riding lessons?" She's barely walking, Maya protested, but without heat. The argument was familiar, comfortable. Never too early to start, Eli and Dave said in unison, sharing a grin. Maya shook her head, heading inside to start breakfast. Through the window, she watched the three most important people in her life head toward the barn, Sarah Grace's laughter floating back to her. The scene overlaid perfectly with another memory, Sarah's medical books open on the kitchen table, Tommy's toy horses scattered across the floor, love filling every corner of this house. Some might call it replacement, Maya thought, but that wasn't quite right. It was more like continuation. The way Sarah's medical knowledge had saved her daughter's life, the way Tommy's room had become Sarah Grace's nursery, the way old pain had transformed into new purpose. The ranch sign caught the sun again. Those three names solid and permanent against the desert sky. Below them, Dave had carved a final line, small but significant, where broken roads lead home. Maya touched the heart-shaped locket at her throat, feeling the weight of both Sarahs within. Outside, her daughter's laughter mingled with Eli's deep chuckle and Dave's gentle instructions. Inside, memories of past and present danced like motes in the morning light, all part of the same continuing story. A story of love that grew wild, as desert flowers, of strength found in broken places, of family formed by choice and chance and courage, of hearts healing under desert skies, finding home at last.